Get ready for the #1 podcast in the world, the Coach Carter Podcast. She's a promising model and actress with a Master of Arts in Education, Aleece Desiree. He's an entrepreneur, a philanthropist. He's known as the Floor Man, Big Bob. He's America's coach, Olympic torchbearer, and 2-time Harvard Educator of the Year. Portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson, the real Coach Carter.
You are now tuned in to the Coach Carter Podcast.
Welcome to the Coach Carter Podcast. I am Aleece Desiree, and I have a wonderful starting lineup here with me today. I have the real Coach Ken Carter.
Thank you so very much.
And I have Big Bob from Big Bob's Flooring.
My pleasure.
And we have Coach Perry from the Link Academy in Branson, Missouri.
The real Coach Perry.
The real Coach Perry.
You can't be stealing my name now, Coach.
Coach, your name is Coach Carter. I'm Coach Perry.
No, I'm the real Coach Carter.
Yeah, I'm the real Coach Perry.
Who's got a trademark?
He's not saying he's real.
But Coach, since he does such a great job with young people, I'll let him have it.
Let him have it.
Which
Let
one?
him have that for
Yeah,
He can rent it for the day. He can rent it for the day. What
Okay,
about
so
that,
the
Coach?
real Coach Perry, who is here with Link Academy from Branson, Missouri.
Hey,
Yes.
hey, can I say the #1 team in the state?
All right, so tell us a little bit more about Link Academy.
Ooh, wow. Where to start at? Special place. Special place. That's where I had to start at first. It's a very special place, a place where we just look to bring in young men to change their lives.
Absolutely.
And so it's a place where we want to grow and develop the whole person, from a student athlete to a spiritual person to athletics, too. And so we started out this year, the first year in school existence. We started August 29th when we opened the doors. And we had a very, very special group of young men.
And this is my favorite part of the story. So August 29th, they moved in.
Yes.
And then played in a championship game on April
2nd.
April 2nd.
Not any championship.
Not any
The
championship. The national championship game.
On ESPN.
Their very first year together. That is
year.
impressive.
Made history.
Like, I want to ask you, Coach, did you know you was going to get those kids the first day you took the job?
No clue whatsoever. We was actually out there. Recruiting this year has been way different from recruiting this past season because we was pretty much begging guys, to come and play. But we always had a plan in mind, and we figured that we had the right guys.
Okay, so now listen. When I coached at Richmond High School, Warren's mama called me every single day. Coach, you're not playing my baby enough.
Coach, I really didn't have those type of conversations that I didn't have to worry about. Ours was a little bit different. Probably Terrence Reed. We had a kid on our team named Terrence Reed Jr. All right. Now, his mom, Darlene, special lady. Special lady. And so she was the one that would call and be like, Coach, you better be taking care of my baby.
Take care of my baby.
Coach,
I
Coach.
understand that.
Coach, my question is, how do you recruit world-class athletes to a startup program with no track record, no history, no win-loss records? What do you say to the parents?
Well, the guys that we have, they all have a common goal. They want to be winners, and they want to be champions, and they want to be NBA players. And so I have a little bit of a track record.
How many people you have in the pros now, Coach?
10.
Wow.
Just 10. And we have 3
Just
more.
10.
Just 10?
Okay.
Just 10. We have 3 more in this year's
Get that
draft.
number up.
That's on the
Okay,
way.
get that number up, Coach.
Too.
Wow.
But so we actually have a blueprint of what that looks like, and so we kind of sold the guys on, hey, we're going to help make you a better player, and every one of our guys improved this year.
All right, so a regular high school has got, what, an hour and a half a day of practice? How many hours a day were you practicing?
5 or 6.
And how long did it take you to build a corporate culture where they all bought in?
We've probably done that on the first day, or moved in on day number 1, and then on day number 2, we went on a retreat. We went on a 3-day retreat.
You got to be a no-nonsense guy.
On the campus, Coach. At 9 at night, the kids was in the gym working, doing what they need to do, putting in work. And so when we're talking about putting in work, what a lot of high school kids really don't understand the work it takes to play at the next level. And they wondering, back in the day, every freshman had to be redshirted back in the day because it gave you a chance to mature. Now, you find guys now think they're ready to come out of high school and go straight into pro. What do you think about the NBA rule, the one and done?
Well, I don't like the one and done rule. Unless you're a college coach, then you love the one and done rule.
Okay.
But as a high school coach, I just feel like if a guy is ready to go to the NBA out of high school, then he should be allowed to be able to go to the NBA out of high school.
The one and done is a compromise because it used to be straight out of high school.
Right. Yep.
And there's some Hall of Fame guys who came straight out of high school.
Right. Kobe Bryant, all the guys who you're talking about who were great players.
LeBron James?
Yeah, LeBron was one of those
Kevin?
guys. But see, you're talking about individuals who's one of a kind, period. It's one LeBron James, there's one Kobe Bryant. What we're saying is this here. All high school kids who are listening to me right now, it is extremely important that you go to school, period. Because there will be no ball playing if you don't have decent grades. Right. And this thing called life. And the ball is going to stop bouncing at some time in your life. If you take a ball and drop it over your head, every time it bounces, it loses 50% of its momentum. 50%. So how many times that ball have to bounce before you have to actually go out and get a job, coach? You look at the average people now living to be 100 years old. They say 1 out of 3 of us going to live to be 100 years old. So that's what happens. What are you going to do the next 60 years of your life? And they're talking about quality of life. That's what I'm talking about. It's just not life. It's talking about quality of life. So people, you have to understand this. All the young people who's listening to my voice today, you're getting good information, and the people who are the most successful in our society are the people who have access to the best information. Coach, you have great information for these kids. First day of practice, how did it look?
It was actually pretty fun.
Wow. Really?
Look at these athletes, Coach.
Yeah.
Look at these athletes.
Yeah,
they all looked at each other and said, yeah, we're winners.
It was fun because of the fact we have a very competitive group. And so when you have a highly competitive group, they compete very hard against each other. And so, it was kind of like guys wanted to mark their territory a little bit too now.
But Coach, only 1 out of every 500,000 kids get a chance to play some type of professional sport. We're talking about all professional, soccer, baseball, football, basketball, Only 1 in every 500,000 get a chance to play. And in the NBA, since we got the high school guys here, in the NBA, Coach, there's 40 jobs available in the league a year.
Per year.
So now you have 500,000 people competing basically for 40 jobs. What advice would you give to a high school student
400
today?
jobs.
Be different. Because all 400 of those players that's playing in the NBA,
yes, sir,
they're different. And so you have a certain mentality, also.
So
I just can't go out and be a scorer.
Wait.
Not even.
What do you mean by be different?
Be different means that, pros are dedicated, disciplined. They have a mentality of being the best, and so every single day, that's what they're doing. They're going out there with that mentality. I have to improve. I have to get better. I have to beat the guy that's next to me. I also have to beat the guy in the next country, also. Because nowadays in the NBA, it's not just our country.
I don't think they have to be different. I think they got to be better.
Well, of course, but you being better, that's you being different.
But back in the day, you're looking at the European players being able to shoot the ball really well. You see the big guys, Dirk, all those guys with specialized skills like guards. Now, did you see the American player adapting to that? Because there's no center position anymore.
No doubt. Because now, really, Coach, when you start talking about the NBA, there are really only maybe 10 superstars in the NBA.
Okay.
Everyone else is role players.
Okay.
And so when you have great role players,
yes, sir,
those guys are very, very valuable because there's more role players than there are superstars.
See, and that's probably what's missing in a lot of young athletes today, is they feel they're entitled, and it's an opportunity that should be given to them instead of the opportunity that they have to earn.
And whenever these young men, even if you go to the league and you are LeBron James, you still are going to have some business tact. You're going to have to know how to manage your money. You're going to have to know all of the ins and outs. And I like the message of no matter what, go get some form of education just because of that, and teach yourself that discipline. And with your school, I love that they have that. They have more responsibility.
How many athletes have gone broke after making $50 million in their career? Because
but Bob, it's their money. See, this is why I have a problem with this. If you go out and earn the money, you have the right to go spend your money. And that's what people always talk about. What about, he spent $50 million. He had the ability to make $50 million. Yeah. So this is why I have a problem with it. If he don't spend his money, somebody else is going to spend his money. And we're not talking about generational wealth and all this other stuff. It's like being too big to fail.
If they play for 18 years, you're right. But if they only play for 3, they got one shot at making enough money to last them their whole lifetime and the responsibility of putting their kids in college.
What's wrong with having a regular job? So I go out and I play in the league for 3 years. That's my experience for those 3 years. I live that lifestyle. I'd rather win the championship and come in next to last place or whatever for 5 years in a row than be a playoff team. And think about it. The Buffalo Bills went to how many Super Bowls in a row?
4.
4 Super Bowls in a row and came up and grew 6. Period. I'd rather win the Super Bowl and come in last the next year because I want the experience of standing on the mountaintop.
I got to go back to what you said about the money and disagree with you.
It's their money. They made it. So
I understand that.
Able to spend it the way
I understand that. I'm not saying they should worship the money, but I think there's a responsibility that comes with making that kind of wealth.
You only lose when you stop. These kids are not stopping. Their lives are going to continue. So you can continue to win. If you won once, you know how to win again.
Okay.
No matter what people do, you have businessmen every day who file bankruptcy, who go out of business, who lose their money. That's just the seasons of life. Winter is going to show up no matter how much money you have. But what the greatest thing about winter, if you have a plan and somebody around
Spring is right around the corner.
Spring is going to come. So what can you do with the sun, the seed, and the soil? You got to plant it. Hopefully something will grow.
Very few people can make NBA money outside of NBA.
People always ask me all the time, and they go, well, Coach, I remember when you had your store on 23rd Street and you worked hard every day. We see you down there at 5 o'clock and all 9 and a half. But Coach, they didn't understand. I own the whole block. See, they just thought I owned the sporting goods store.
Right.
But the 3 houses, I had a hair salon, barbershop, 3 barbershops, I own the whole block. And so what I'm saying to you is this. As an entrepreneur, my road wasn't always just painted clear. You understand? It just wasn't clear. I had to make some decisions. And some of those decisions I made, I made them quickly because if it was the wrong decision, I could instantly correct it and get on the right side. This is the Coach Carter definition of an entrepreneur. Someone who's willing to work 16 to 18 hours a day to keep from getting a J-O-B. Because it means 2 things. Just over broke or jumping out of bed. Doesn't matter. You don't want to do either. So all I'm saying to you, I think it's called quality of life. Quality of life.
Absolutely.
Hands down. So when you have the resources to have a great quality of life and put people in position to help them and everything, just because I go broke doesn't mean I haven't helped someone else over here, Coach, who owns the business that won't give me a return on my investment. So I believe the world gets better one person at a time. And I think that's the investment.
I think it's the same as, we talk about return on investment all the time anyway.
Yes, sir.
So guys putting in the work in the gym, too. Like we have a kid, Jordan Ross.
Yes,
he improved the most on our team this year.
What's his name?
Jordan Ross.
Where's he
Jay
from?
Smooth.
Where's he from?
Jay Smooth.
Jay Smooth.
I love that.
He's from Utah, Coach.
Utah. Is that in the United States?
Somewhere.
I think they got their own thing.
I love Jay Smooth. That is the coolest nickname. Jay Smooth.
Jay Smooth.
Jay Smooth is absolutely spot on, spectacular.
So now, with you as a coach, you coach these boys up. They're playing extremely good basketball mid-season. I don't care who you are, you're going to have a mid-season crisis somewhere, Coach. What was your mid-season crisis this year?
When we played Sunrise. We played Sunrise Christian.
They're ranked probably in the top 10?
They was number 1 in the country.
Oh, okay.
That sounds like a crisis.
Well, the crisis wasn't necessarily playing them. The crisis was the thing that happened right before we actually played. Omaha Blue, one of our top players on our team, bumped knees in practice, and his knee swells up, and he wasn't able to practice leading up to that game.
Coach, but what a great name.
Omaha Blue.
Oh, yeah. What a great name. I mean, wow.
He was born in Omaha, Nebraska, Coach. That's where he comes from.
I bet you want a little short guy, probably with braids in his hair or something like that, and people kind of bully him around. Is that the kid I seen? The one everybody was bullying around and stuff?
That's almost him, but he's a little bit bigger. He's 6'8". So,
just a little guy.
Just a little guy.
Omaha Blue.
It is a beautiful name.
That's one of the great ones.
That is a classic name. I mean, as a nickname, it doesn't get any better.
Right.
And then Julian Phillips' grandmother passed away the week that we was going to play Sunrise also. So he didn't play, the way he was, normally playing for us during that game. Omaha didn't play the way he was normally playing, and it was a close ball game. We still had a chance to win the game, as well. And so that was probably our midseason crisis that we had to go through, and just happened to be at that point in time that those things actually occurred.
I want to know what happened the day after the game.
The day after the game, we actually played another game. The day after the game.
What do you say to your players after the speed bump to give them the confidence to show up the next day and give their best effort again?
Well, I didn't have to say much. They was already disappointed. That was our first loss of the season, and we don't like to lose, And so we was actually happy that we had a chance to go back and play the next day.
All right.
So we didn't have a chance to, soak a little bit in our loss and everything like that. So we was able to come back and actually play, pretty well the next day.
Do you recruit that attitude, or do you create that attitude?
Both. We have a culture at our place that we recruit to. No nonsense, whatsoever.
A coach is only as good as the players he can recruit. Simple as that. There's tons of coaches who get X and O with the great John Wooden. With all the great coaches we have around here, all of them X and O. But you got to have the athletes on the floor to make the difference. Coach was able to get the people because he was able to get on the phone. And you're talking about your resources and connections across the country, Coach.
Well, the other major selling point for our guys is to make sure that, they're prepared to play when they actually get to college. Because a lot of kids now, they don't want to sit. They want it now.
Oh, what about that? You had another kid on your team, Coach. I can't quite remember his name.
Probably named after a famous guy.
Oh, Jordan.
That's it.
Oh, is that the kid, that I just score on every time I play this?
Because I believe we have some footage of that.
We have to sub in the footage.
He's perked up a little bit over there.
I had to get his attention. With young people, they actually think that this game was created yesterday, Coach. They actually think this game was created yesterday.
By them.
And all the pioneers before them, are just absolutely crazy. But Coach, with this, how do you perfect? What is that one thing? If you were sitting there, what would you tell a kid right now in high school right now? You're going to K-State. Congratulations on your new job, young man. Congratulations. Tell me, what is the one thing you would tell this kid to get them from a high school team, whether they are playing on the AAU squad or whatever, to get them for you to recruit them at this next level? And we're talking about Big 12 basketball. The best basketball, I think, in the country. What would you tell them?
Well, something that we always use, we use two different things. To become a Division I college basketball player, you have to become a Division I college basketball player before you become a Division I college basketball player. The same way we say if you're going to be a pro, you got to become a pro before you actually become a pro, too.
So Trae Young, you think when you coached him, he was a pro before he even got drafted?
Most definitely. On the floor and off the floor.
Well, what did he do different?
His mentality. I mean, he wants to be the best. He always soaked up anything that you would tell him. He picked guys' brains. He hung out with pros before he actually became a pro, too. He was always asking those guys, what it was like, what would they go back and change when they was younger, so that way while he's going through the process, he knows exactly what he needs to do.
But Coach, what is that one thing you would tell a kid right now? I'm a top player, I want to be a top player. What is the one thing you would tell them about recruiting? How do you get to that next level?
Well, the number one thing I always tell guys is master something. The guys now they call it, Coach, they call it getting in their bag. They want to get in their bag and do a little of this, a little of that, and then
you talking about all the dribbling they do?
And it's not good at anything. So master something.
Well, they master dribbling.
Well, yeah, but sometimes, like, it happened to us a couple times this year. We had a player on our team. He drew the ball on one possession like 12 times, turn it over. Then he dribbled another time, 17 times, turn it over. And then he dribbled another time, it was 18 times, and turn it over.
I know where he was setting after that 18 time. Over there by you, right?
East time.
Okay,
East time.
This is the greatest thing about this sport called basketball. People always think the biggest guy always wins. They always think the biggest guy wins, the fastest guy. But when it comes down, it's the X and O's and the knowledge of the game and playing at a level and at a speed that you're really comfortable. When you really get in your bag, the game looks really slow to you. It slows down. But it don't slow down for everybody. And that's what people don't understand. You have to put in that time. And there's nothing you can do that's going to substitute the hard work. And people see, Coach, you remember, me and you shooting. Remember we was at Baylor?
I remember.
We was at Baylor. Now,
they had to call the fire department.
Yeah. This is the greatest thing. Now, during that time, if they didn't play in the game, they had to come work out with me for 2 hours after the game. Mm-hmm. And coaches were sitting there. Obviously, who were you coaching for at that time?
Or
Ramos. Coach comes in the gym, we start shooting, and then other teammates start coming in and say, we want to work out with your guys. But it was too late. The nets was already burned down. You feel me? So all I'm saying to the people that's listening to us and seeing us for the first time is simply this. Work hard at what you do. Have a great strategy. Write it down. Because when you write things down, there's 10 times more likely to come true.
Absolutely.
So you have to write things down. And so we don't care what side of the tracks that you was born on. If you reset your preset, things can change for you. And it's all about change. And a lot of people don't like change. Now, you are an extremely successful program at Link. Now, what would make you, sir, sit there and decide, you know what? I'm the very best at what I do at running hurdles. Why do I want to play football? Why do I want to go to the next level and coach? Now, I had the opportunity to go to college and the pro and coach. I turned down them all.
Coach, I always told my guys, even this year, I'm the best coach you're ever going to play for. So, that's just my mentality. Yes, sir, most definitely. I tell them I'm the best coach you're ever going to play for. 51, soon to be 52 this month.
Hey, do you guys agree with that?
Right.
They know they're going to be running the coach. See, that's the greatest thing. When I coached at Richmond High, the team, everybody's seen the movie Coach Carter. Mr. Samuel Jackson came to our games to actually see us coach and see me coach and just get the vibe of Richmond during that time. Believe it or not, crime was down 70%, sir, in the city when doing basketball season. And we didn't know that. Now, I don't know if all the criminals was on my team, but they was definitely in the gym.
They were your fans as well.
They was definitely in the gym. And, people always ask me, Coach, especially about Cruz. That's people's favorite kid. The kid who said, you playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking, so there's nothing, that speech in the movie. I mean, that kid
that brought tears to my eyes probably the first 7 or 8 times I saw the movie.
Okay. You only seen it 7 or 8 times?
No. I only cried the first 7 or 8 times I heard it.
Well, what I'm saying to you, during the movie...
Did he keep asking you that over and over and over again, too?
What? What is your deepest fear?
Did you keep asking him, what's your deepest fear?
Yes, I asked him, because this is the thing. I didn't even know it was a poem. Because, see, the first day of practice, the young man said some choice words to me and, tried to hit me. And I'm the only teacher in America who swings back.
You wasn't a teacher, you was a basketball coach.
I was a basketball coach. You're right. And so now, with that kid, I loved him because he was tough mentally, emotionally, and he was tough even spiritually. And one of my all-time most favorite players. I tell kids all the time, I love all you guys the same, but you become the 1 or 2 I really like. That's your job, to become the 1 or 2 I really like. Coach, he used to have a layup and stop at the 3-point line and shoot a 3. So it goes in, you stay in, Coach? Isn't that the rule?
That's the rule.
One of those, don't joke. Good job. You remember those, Coach?
I do.
Now, I'm looking at the room. I know a couple of these guys around here shoot shots like that. I seen you on the sideline going.
Trey Green was probably my biggest guy that was like that.
Trey, where Trey at?
Trey Green was my biggest guy on that one right there, too.
Coach, I don't know. He got these braids in his eye. I don't see how you can see from that far. Now, guys have all this swag now, Coach.
They do.
They have the earrings in their ear. They have the tattoos. You know what I mean? And they are super cool. You know what I mean? They got the latest sneaks on and all this gear they have. Everybody got a brand, except for Jordan. But everybody got a brand. I know they wanted to play basketball for me. So this was a thing. Basketball was the hook. Education was always the go.
Right.
Now you look at all of these kids that you have. These are great athletes, future pros. How do you get them all to play on one team?
Well, the great thing
with one ball.
The great thing is, Coach, you said it. All these guys wanted to play for me.
Okay.
You know, they did. They wanted to play for me, and they knew that we was going to get better, that they was going to get better individually. And then, you know, obviously, we talk about this. You talk about standing next to kings, right? And so these guys all stood next to each other, you know. And so when they stood next to each other, they held each other up too.
How many kids?
Cadillac Blue?
In the Prince too, Coach.
Oh, what Purple Rain at? Purple Rain. This is the nicest kid. When I first got there, I stayed up to 3 a.m. talking to this young man. He is a class act. I mean, just a class act. And he can really, really shoot the basketball. Everybody in your program can shoot the ball.
Even our 6'11" kid that's going to Ohio State.
Okay.
The Ohio State.
The Ohio State.
Okay.
Hey, Fee, OH.
How many?
There you go.
All right, there you go.
How many kids
that's the greatest
graduated
thing
this year?
about this here. Young man.
We have 7 guys graduating this year.
Where are they going to school?
Kay Rice going to Boise State. Jordan Walsh going to University of Arkansas. Felix Opar going to Ohio State. Terrence Reed Jr. going to Michigan. Damian Mayo Jr. going to Missouri State. Julian Phillips, Tennessee. And Julian Norris is going to the famous Morehead State.
What about Cadillac Black? Where is he going?
Cadillac Black.
Cadillac Blue.
Blue. Omaha Blue.
He Cadillac Blue.
Change his name.
We changing his name.
We like Omaha.
He have no swag. None whatsoever.
Omaha can go anywhere you want to go in the country.
Oh.
Well,
that's enough swag. That's all the swag you need.
I cannot believe that the kid I seen in the gym that night, wonderful young man, how do he become the top 20 player in the country, top 10 in the country?
Oh, he's a servant, first of all.
Okay.
You know, he's a servant, but he works harder than anyone else in the gym. You know, too. He's constantly putting in work. You know, he has a why. You know, and he knows what his why is, and so he's constantly, you know, making sure that he's going to provide for his family one day. You know, and he keeps that in mind every day that he goes to work.
So he's talking about generational wealth. So
generation.
So you're looking at this kid is 6'10", 6'11", or whatever he is. He's putting in the work, you know, coming in early, staying late.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a business. He looks at his body.
Yes.
He's a corporation.
Stay tuned. The Coach Carter Podcast will be right back.
Looking for inspiration to jumpstart your success? Look no further than Coach King Carter's best-selling book, Yes Ma'am, No Sir, The 12 Essential Steps for Success in Life. Based on the extraordinary true story behind the blockbuster hit film Coach Carter, this riveting book features the coach's hard-earned lessons for success in life. Be sure to click the link in the bio to purchase your copy today.
Have a question for the Coach Carter Podcast? Send us a tip with your question to streamelements.com/Coach Carter Podcast /tip to have it answered on an upcoming show. Now, let's get back to the Coach Carter Podcast.
Coach Perry, now what is the academics look like at Link Academy?
Well, it's a interesting setup that we have because we actually go to school a couple different times throughout the day. So we go through shorter spans so that way the guys can actually get more out of it.
Absolutely.
So our first class period starts at 1 o'clock during the day, and it goes from 1 to 5. And then we always come back in the evening from 8 to 9 in the evening. And then we also have individual tutors for each one of the guys as well if they need that.
Amazing.
Is it an accredited school?
It's accredited school. Our team GPA is 3.25. Too. So we're very proud.
How many kids in the total school program?
We have 120 students overall on campus, starting from high school, 9th grade, all the way up through. We have a post-grad program too that adds a additional year after high school.
I wanted to ask you, so if I complete my 4 years of high school and I still haven't received the athletic scholarship, somebody interested in me, you telling me I can go to school and still be considered a prep or high school athlete?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, you can take an additional year at the prep school.
Yeah.
All sports.
And so now we look in the educational piece, and the education piece is always overlooked.
Absolutely.
Even with our politicians. The first thing they always talk about is taking care of education. When they get elected, that's the last thing we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good to get elected. Understand?
Lots of votes.
And once the votes are counted and you're elected, our education is kind of like on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you were going to change education here in America, what would you do? What would be the very first thing you would do, Coach?
If I was going to change education.
Or add to it, shall I say? We don't want to change it.
I would make it where every person could afford to get a college degree.
Wow.
That's what I would do.
You know, San Quentin prison costs $100,000 to keep an inmate in jail.
Per
You
year.
can send that person to San Francisco State for 4 years and get a degree for $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. But this is the killing thing. The bridge between Richmond and San Rafael, where that prison is at, the guards over there make $150,000 a year with overtime. Starting teacher at Richmond High School makes $42,500.
In California.
That's the next thing I would do, though.
What is that, sir?
Teachers need to be paid more.
Wow. Why would you say that, sir? They get 3 months out of the year.
Coach, they're
I'm just saying.
they're educating our next generation.
That's right. And every single time, every vacation, the kids get, the teachers get the same vacation.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as
Their
everyone is
responsibility.
clear that is not true. That is
Okay.
not true.
All right, explain.
As an educator myself,
Yes, ma'am.
we spend majority of our off time figuring out how to make a curriculum work for a student. For example, if you have Christmas break, we have little Tim who has been struggling all year. We spend our Christmas break designing that curriculum around that one child if he needs it, because he might be that one that is just not getting it.
Wow.
Summer break's the same thing. What didn't work last year that can work this year? What can change? It's constantly changing. It's a dynamic thing, and it's definitely not static.
Okay, so now you have this curriculum plan for the year, and most teachers have had the same one for 5 years. What do you say then?
Absolutely not. Curriculum is always changing. First of all, we have to think about technology in schools now. So curriculum is moving away from textbooks and things of that nature, and they're integrating technology. So there's always updates. Look at your phone. How often does your phone tell you need to update? That's the same thing with curriculum. It needs to be updated every so often. And your students are going to be different. Your students, you're never going to get the same kids every year. You can teach the same subject for 25 years, the same age, and you'll never have a year that's the same.
And so as a student changes, you're saying the teacher has to make the adjustment also.
Absolutely. You cannot go in and teach 9th grade, teach them Algebra 1. And they are all on different levels. You're going to have a student, of course you can't forget the kids that are struggling and you're trying to get them up, but you cannot forget about those kids that are on Algebra 2. They're ahead of the curve. So as a teacher, you're constantly, each child has a different curriculum.
But the challenge is,
No, you can't. Okay. Because you have to think about their social, where they come from, their family dynamics. It could be their culture. That's one thing that we're lacking in American education, is understanding the large diversity of cultures, because you may have a culture where the father is the head of the household, and so the child may have more respect for a male, or you may have where a mother is the matriarch, and so they respect the women more.
Okay.
Yeah, I also, because we had a situation this year where one of our young men, Ethan Lathan, from Rockford, Illinois, being at his public school, he didn't have the same individual attention that he was able to get at our place. And so therefore we saw a big difference in his academics in 1 year's time. But it's also, because I have a wonderful staff. Coach Luke Smith, Coach Jake White, Coach Devon Smith. And they're also heavily involved with our guys' academics, also. And so they actually help stay on top of our guys, making sure that they're getting their homework turned in and that they're on class on time, as well. And so I think as coaches, we are also teachers.
Absolutely, because you guys you're our first line of defense as an educator.
You're the best teacher because they want, they show up, they bought in. You say jump, they say how high. they're not getting the same. The teachers are not getting the same.
And it would be
respect.
nice if in American education, our high school students were able to choose. I don't agree.
Choose what?
Choose their curriculum. I believe that because, you know, you have your Algebra 1, and then you take geometry, and then you take Algebra 2, and then you might take pre-calc, calculus. But instead of those 4 years of math, why not a business math?
I think there's not a parent in America who don't want their kid to be successful.
There are programs in every state to where students can access funds. They can access going and getting, you know, having an associate's degree before they're even graduating from high school. The problem is in most public schools in smaller areas that aren't your top tier schools, the students aren't receiving they're not receiving that information.
Who's responsible for that?
Society, I'm going to say it, our political figures. The reason being is because they put a stack of papers and say, this is what you as a teacher need to do. And we have to do that on top of us really trying to do what we're trying to do, which is reach each individual student, which should be our primary job instead of data pushers.
So I hope you guys have enjoyed the podcast here today. We had these young men today. They have done an excellent job. They were patient with us, and they got a chance to see something in their lives where it's going to change their lives, hopefully, Coach. And I thank you for coming and sharing your ideas and time with us. I thank you, Bob, for coming, sharing your time. And I just want to say to everybody out there, the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. And he said, not all of us can become famous, but each and every one of us can become great, because greatness is defined by the service that you give to others. Coach, I want to congratulate you on giving great service.
Spectacular.
Listen,
the real deal. K-State job.
Everybody at the listening and can see my picture or voice, see this telecast. Thank you for being a part of our show. We love you, and we'll see you again. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. For more, click here.